Is Samsung's Galaxy S24 Ultra the phone to finally dethrone the iPhone? Another year, another epic showdown between Apple and Samsung as they face off with their latest and greatest smartphones. For over a decade, the iPhone has sat securely on the smartphone throne as the popular pick for most consumers. But Android fans look to top dogs like Samsung to hopefully one day knock Apple off that perch. These are the biggest, baddest flagships that Android and iOS have to offer. But the real question is, which phone comes out on top? Let's break it down. First up, how much do these bad boys cost? Well, the iPhone 15 Pro Max starts at $1,199 for the base 256GB model. Pretty steep, but typical for an iPhone. The Galaxy S24 Ultra is even pricier at a starting price of $1,299. Ouch! Of course, most folks don't pay full price for phones these days. Trade-in deals can slash hundreds of dollars off the cost. Samsung is offering up to $750 off for Galaxy S24 Ultra pre-orders. Not too shabby. Apple also runs regular trade-in promos. The iPhone 15 Pro Max launched last September, so it's easy to get your hands on. The Galaxy S24 Ultra started shipping January 31st to folks who pre-ordered. Availability shouldn't be an issue for either phone. For pricing and availability, we've got to hand this round to the iPhone 15 Pro Max. That lower $1,199 starting price gives it an edge over the Ultra. On to the design. Style preferences are subjective, but we'll try to be objective here. The Galaxy S24 Ultra rocks Samsung's signature angular metal and glass look with the huge camera block on the back. It looks slick, but does pick up fingerprints. The iPhone design is more refined and minimalist. We especially dig those titanium side rails, very premium. Both phones are absolute units. The Ultra packs a massive 6.8-inch screen into just 3.1 by 6.4 by 0.3 inches. Meanwhile, the iPhone is a bit more compact at 6.7 inches with 3 by 6.3 by 0.3 inches. Still big, but easier for smaller hands to manage. Colors for both phones are pretty comparable. They all have titanium in the name. Real original, guys. The Ultra comes in gray, black, violet, yellow, blue, and green. The iPhone offers black titanium, white titanium, blue titanium, and natural titanium. For design, we're calling this one a draw. The Galaxy S24 Ultra has flashier style points, but the iPhone 15 Pro Max offers a more refined and practical build. Choose based on your personal taste. Let's move on to those screens. Both phones are rocking superb OLED displays. The Galaxy S24 Ultra has sharp QHD Plus resolution stretched over 6.8 gorgeous inches. Apple doesn't disclose resolution, but claims the Super XDR 6.7-inch display hits peak brightness of up to 1600 nits with HDR content. Wildly bright. In our lab test, the iPhone 15 Pro Max display edged out the S24 Ultra slightly in terms of color accuracy, hitting a Delta E rating of 0.14 versus 0.25 for the S24 Ultra. Lower numbers mean more accurate colors here. However, the Ultra offers a wider DCI P3 color gamut covering 98.5% of that spectrum. The iPhone also hit a higher peak brightness of 1550 nits in the lab versus 1363 nits for the S24 Ultra. This gives Apple the outdoor visibility edge. However, Samsung claims the Ultra's Gorilla Glass Victus 2 screen reduces reflections by 75%. Could be handy on sunny days. Both screens can dynamically adjust between 1 to 120 Hz. This allows buttery smooth scrolling when you need it without tanking battery life. Honestly, both displays look fabulous, but thanks to slightly better numbers for color and brightness, the iPhone 15 Pro Max display inches out the win. On to the cameras. The huge camera block on the S24 Ultra packs a doozy of a camera system. 200 megapixels main 50 megapixel 5x optical telephoto. 10 megapixel 3x optical telephoto 12 megapixel ultra wide plus a 12 megapixel selfie camera up front. Meanwhile, the iPhone 15 Pro Max rocks 48 megapixel main 12 megapixel ultra wide. 12 megapixel 5x optical telephoto 12 megapixel selfie camera. So on paper, Samsung clearly wins on megapixels alone. But how do these shooters stack up in the real world? In ideal daytime shooting, both phones take fabulous pics. The Ultra tends to amp colors up a bit more. The iPhone keeps things more true to life. For portraits, Samsung's processing gives skin a very flat, almost overly smoothed effect. The iPhone retains better texture and detail in faces, leading to more realistic shots. In dim lighting, the iPhone exposes images brighter by default. This means you can actually see details that the S24 Ultra cloaks in shadow. However, the Ultra's massive 200-megapixel sensor can pull out solid low-light shots with a bit of work in Pro Mode. For zoom, having dual telephotos with 3x and 5x optical magnification gives the S24 Ultra a lot of reach. But the iPhone's 5x optical zoom consistently nails focus and delivers sharp results, even at max zoom. The Ultra's extra cameras don't mean much if they miss on focus. Ultimately, while the S24 Ultra offers more flexibility, we found the iPhone 15 Pro Max captures more pleasing images more consistently in all lighting. So when it comes to cameras, Apple takes the win. Under the hood, the Galaxy S24 Ultra packs Qualcomm's latest Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip fine-tuned for Galaxy devices. The iPhone rocks Apple's proprietary A17 Bionic chip. As usual, iOS is highly optimized to run lightning fast on Apple silicone. Let's look at some benchmark numbers. On Geekbench 6, which gauges overall CPU performance, the iPhone 15 Pro Max scored higher on single-core performance at 2,783 versus 2,300 for the S24 Ultra. However, for multi-core performance, the S24 Ultra pulled ahead with a score of 7,249 over 6,945 for the iPhone. Generally, those are both blazing fast and on par with what we expect from flagship silicone these days. For graphics power, the S24 Ultra's Adreno 740 GPU outmuscled the iPhone's 5-core GPU in 3D Mark Wildlife Extreme Unlimited. Samsung scored 5,007 versus the iPhone's 3,481. What does this all mean in the real world? Both phones tear through tasks with ease. Gaming, multitasking, video editing, no slowdowns anywhere. And having gobs of RAM helps too. The S24 Ultra packs 12 GB, while the iPhone 15 Pro Max has 6 GB. Honestly, performance feels fantastic on both phones. We're calling this one an even draw for now, but down the road, having more RAM could give the S24 Ultra better long-term endurance. Let's talk battery. The Galaxy S24 Ultra holds a 5,000 mAh battery, one of the largest you can get in any phone. The iPhone 15 Pro Max packs a still sizable 4,422 mAh battery. In our custom battery drain test, streaming video at 150 nits screen brightness, the S24 Ultra lasted an excellent 15 hours and 41 minutes. Meanwhile, the iPhone 15 Pro Max endured 14 hours and 2 minutes before needing a refill. Both solid scores, but Samsung takes the win for marathon battery life. For charging, the Ultra supports blistering 45-watt wired charging that can juice back up 71% charge in just 30 minutes. Unfortunately, Samsung still doesn't include the required brick in the box. Apple lags even further behind with old-school 20-watt charging for the iPhone 15 Pro Max. You'll need to supply your own 20-watt brick and lightning cable. The Galaxy S24 Ultra sweeps this round with longer battery life and vastly quicker charging speeds, no contest. Out of the box, the Galaxy S24 Ultra runs Android 14 with Samsung's One UI 6 skin on top. Apple's iPhone 15 Pro Max runs iOS 17. Samsung absolutely stacked the S24 Ultra with nifty AI smarts thanks to a dedicated AI processor. For example, you can summon Bixby to identify objects seen through the camera and get additional context. New AI can also transcribe audio recordings and distinguish between multiple speakers. The iPhone 15 Pro Max offers Apple's typically polished iOS experience, now enhanced with clever features like live captions for phone calls and Apple's clever new dynamic island. This pill-shaped cutout expands to deliver alerts, notifications, and more. Haptics make it feel like actual software. It's super slick. Apple promises around 5 years of full iOS updates for iPhones. Samsung upped support to 4 years of Android OS updates and 5 years of security patches for the S24 line. This is a big step up and almost iPhone-grade long-term software longevity. Honestly, Samsung made leaps this year, while Apple's iOS remains reliably great but increasingly familiar. Samsung bags another win here by bringing more new tricks to the table, but longtime iPhone users may still prefer Apple's refined ecosystem. Choose based on which interface you like better. Overall winner? Let's tally up the scores. Price and availability, iPhone design, draw. Display, iPhone cameras, iPhone performance, draw. Battery, Galaxy S24 Ultra. Software, Galaxy S24 Ultra. By our count, that's 3 wins for iPhone, 2 wins for the S24 Ultra, and 2 draws. This makes the iPhone 15 Pro Max the slight victor in this epic showdown. Both phones are incredible flagships packed with cutting-edge features. But in more categories, the iPhone 15 Pro Max inches ahead as the best overall premium phone you can buy right now. Of course, die-hard Android fans likely still prefer the Galaxy despite the score. And that's fair too. Pick the phone with the features and ecosystem that resonate most with your needs and preferences. Either way, these are 2 phenomenal devices that won't disappoint. We can't wait to see how Samsung and Apple up the ante again next year.